Alright, so I've been asked to make a tutorial for how to recreate my Gmod Realism video. So here it is, a tutorial of how to transform Gary's mod into an immersive, tactical experience. Today we'll be focusing on the body cam footage style, a style which simulates a mounted camera on the gear of a military operator. So for today's tutorial, we're going to be utilizing several different mods in order to achieve this mounted camera effect. We're going to use these mods to manipulate the position of the player's weapon around the screen. The mods we're going to need are View Mod, Sharp Eye, Dynamic Height, and Enhanced Third Person, all of which will be linked down in the description below, and we'll be exploring 3 different camera angles in the body cam footage style. So let's get into it. For our first camera angle, we're going to create a first-person helmet camera. That means we still remain in the first-person camera mode, but we'll manipulate the position of the player's weapon so that it's lower, so it looks as if the camera is mounted somewhere on the operator's head. We're going to be utilizing View Mod, Dynamic Height, and Sharp Eye for this effect. So we have a weapon on screen right now, and we have all view model settings set to default. So we'll start from scratch. So the first thing you want to do is hit Q and go to your MW options and go to View Model. Now let's crank our FOV to something a little higher, maybe 1.5, but it is personal preference. Then let's move on to our ADS FOV and crank that all the way to the max. And this will help when you set your view mod settings to make it look a little better. As you can see here, these are my view mod settings for the first camera angle. Feel free to pause to copy it. But before that though, let's configure Sharp Eye first. Tick on the Enable box to enable Sharp Eye. And click on the button to configure it. Now once you're in the menu, let's look for motion modifiers and tick the Use Relax Mode option. This will allow for a smooth view, which is commonly used in most Gmod Realism videos. Now for the final step, all you have to do is just to enable View Mod. Remember though, you have to enable Sharp Eye and View Mod at the same time. You cannot work without one or the other. If you turn off Sharp Eye but leave View Mod on, it will look very strange. So yeah, that completes the first camera angle for today's tutorial. Let's move on to the next. So the second camera angle we'll be looking at today is the first-person chest camera. In this configuration, we'll be simulating a camera mounted onto the vest or chest area of the operator, similar to police body cams released to the public. It's practically the same thing as the first camera angle, but with a different view mod configuration. All you have to do is to just play around with the view mod settings until you get the angle that you like, but of course I'll still show my settings. Now we're going to use dynamic height to get the correct height proportions for our camera angles. This is so that the player doesn't appear too tall or too short. To find the dynamic height menu, go to the spawn menu and find dynamic height in options. With this, you can change your maximum and your minimum height to your preference. If you want the correct height proportions, you can go spawn in an NPC and measure from there. For our final camera angle, we'll be creating a third-person helmet cam. In this camera angle, we'll be switching to third person so the player model is visible, and we'll be using enhanced third person to move the third person camera around. First, you want to hit Q and head to the utilities bar to find the third person. This is your enhanced third person menu. Now you want to click enable to turn on your custom third person. You also want to enable head position in order for your head to be the center of the camera. Now let's adjust the X, Y, Z offsets of the camera to get a good angle. Here are my settings. Now with it being in third person, the animations are pretty janky and the camera might bug sometimes if you run too fast, so I rarely use these for a full-length video. So to further enhance the camera look, I use the in-game post-processing effects to sort of degrade the footage a bit. This sort of adds to the realism aspect of it. So to get these effects, hit Q and look for the post-processing menu. Now you want to tick Sharpen and Toy Town. For the Toy Town effect, I limit the amount of passes to 1 and I crank the height all the way to the max. For the Sharpen effect, I set my distance to 0.34 and my contrast to 3.23. The sharpening effect complements the blur pretty well, and it makes it easier to see. Now to top it all off, I usually add some post-editing effects to push the realism further. We're going to recreate a fisheye lens effect to make it look even more like a camera. The editing software I use is Final Cut Pro. Alright, so here's a demo clip that we'll add some effects to. On the bottom right side, you can see some effects presets that are available for you to use. To recreate a fisheye lens effect, look for the security effect and apply that onto your clip. Next, I'll remove the text labels that come with the effect, but that step is optional. Now to get the fisheye lens, I crank the amount up to max, and I also crank up the saturation pretty high to get rid of that black and white filter. I also increased the degrade option from the effect so that the clip will lose its quality. This is the final step in our post-editing effects. So yeah, with our effects combined, this is what the clip looks like. I will say though, it looks better in brighter environments as all of the effects are more noticeable. I've had a lot of fun experimenting with the different effects, and so far I'm pretty satisfied with how it turns out in the end. I've set up a small montage for the end of the video for you guys to see. And that's pretty much it for the tutorial. I hope you can use these effects and mods to good use, and enjoy your Gmod realism. This is UPulse, signing off.